450,000 people that were called up for jury duty that couldn't participate in jury duty because they were not citizens.
Wow.
And where do you get jury duty contestants? From the voter rolls.
It's a real world example as to what happens when you've got socialism versus capitalism. And she said, what do you mean? Korea, like we went to war there and it's split now. She goes, what? This is a girl who went to law school. We've just allowed the judicial branch ever since Marbury versus Madison to just dominate in all constitutional questions. In my opinion, the legislature should say, you know what, judicial branch, pound sand.
Welcome out to God and Country. This is Uriah Kennedy. This is Ingrid Bettridge. And we have a great guest on with us. This is Braden Hess. Braden Hess is going to be running for Senate here in Utah. One of the more controversial Senate campaigns that is going to be run, because he's going to be running directly against the Senate President, Stuart Adams.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people really don't like Stuart Adams. There are a lot of people that really support Stuart Adams. And we're kind of going to get down to the bottom of that and see what Braden is going to be running on and the differences between him and Stuart Adams. There's also a lot of other subjects we're going to be discussing today. Last week, we did a great podcast with Corinne Johnson on what's going on in Utah education, and we're going to continue that a little bit because there is a massive issue with suicide, with tech in schools that is not necessarily a positive influence in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of topics that we're going to go over today. We're also going to discuss a little bit on immigration here in Utah. There's a lot going on in Minnesota with ICE. So that is a big topic nowadays. So let's kind of go into how you got started, how you got into politics. You said you went to law school. We want to kind of start down at the beginning. Is
Where you
came from and how you got started into law and what drove you towards politics.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Davis County, and that's where my wife's from as well. Went to Davis High School, and while I was there, I didn't care about politics at all during the time Mitt Romney was running for president his first time, and didn't really care. I actually ended up serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ in England, and at that time, Brexit was a huge deal. Everyone was talking about it. So I thought, you know what? Maybe this is something I need to pay attention to when I get home. I got home, and just politics here were just really boiling. You could feel the atmosphere just starting to pick up. So I started I was planning on going to medical school, but I started taking political classes. I really fell in love with it because of my deep morals. So I decided while I was in my undergraduate at Utah State that I needed to really get involved politically. So I went to law school. Well, first actually, before that, I did some internships. I did one for former Representative Edward Red. He's from Cache Valley. And then I did one for Chris Stewart in Washington, D.C. And then I did an internship with the Church of Jesus Christ in the European Union. So I got a flavor, a taste of politics of all sorts in my undergraduate. And I thought, you know what? I need to really learn more about law. So I went to law school in Maryland, and it's a very, very Democrat place. So it was more of a refiner's fire for me than converting me.
Yeah, you went into the belly of the beast out there.
Yeah, I did.
That must have been a fun experience.
It was crazy. Yes.
Now their politics didn't sway you. You didn't buy into that?
No, not at all. Like I said, it was a refiner's fire. It was great because I was able to see the other side. They could challenge my ideas, and I really had to back it up. I couldn't just rely on the talking points that I've heard my entire life. I actually had to research the issues, figure out what I actually believed.
As a child, I grew up shooting BB guns. I was probably shooting my sister's dolls more often than anything else, but there was nothing like growing up and learning how to shoot accurately and learning how to take care of a firearm. There is no better way of doing that as a parent than being able to teach your children good firearm safety by using a BB gun or a pellet gun. Not only that, but it provides a lot of enduring fun for yourself as an adult and something you can do father and son or father and daughter. There are great equipment out there, and we want to introduce you to Crossman. Crossman's been around for a long time. I've always had a Crossman growing up. Crossmans provide excellent accuracy and a lot of power for a BB gun. There's a lot of different styles to choose from different types of air rifles and pistols, even to fully automatic BB guns and other types of air guns. You need to go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen to be able to go to Crossman and make those BB gun purchases, those air rifle purchases. Again, it's going to supply you hours of fun and enjoyment with you and your kids as well as you as an adult. And BBs are a lot less expensive than actual ammunition. So go to Crossman by using the link in our description or the QR code that's popping up on the screen and enjoy the accuracy, the quality of construction, and the hours of family fun that you will have with these air rifles and BB guns. Again, the link in the description, the QR code that's popping up on your screen, and then support our channel. Thank you. Well, you got started in law. Where did you practice, and then what made you think of running right now?
Yeah. So out of law school, I actually worked for the Office of Legislative Research and General Counsel. They draft the bills and represent the legislature in lawsuits. While I was there, I realized I'm too partisan to work for a nonpartisan office. So I quit my job there and started my own law firm with the idea that I would eventually run for office. The plan was to run for the open seat in Kaysville, which is Stuart Barlow's seat. He's done after this session.
Okay.
But I got this spiritual impression that someone needed to challenge Stuart Adams. I'm not pleased with the way he's been handling himself up there. It's just, it's a great question. I've talked with so many people, and honestly, I've only heard of a couple of people that are actually okay with him. The vast majority of people not happy with the way he's been doing it. And it really stems from the policies that he's making that are benefiting himself financially, personally, and then also family members.
Family members of Stuart?
Yeah. His step granddaughter.
Oh,
Have you heard about that
yes, I
situation?
have.
Yeah, we did a whole story on that one too.
Yeah.
Where we were discussing that with Dan McKay, that we were talking about it extensively about what's going on, and specifically asking Dan McKay. So,
Yeah,
what does he
'cause he's
like?
somebody who has it's a friend. He respects him as a person, but maybe doesn't agree with the way he's handled everything.
What do you like in the Senate? Was he pressuring? With that particular law, I kind of agreed with how Stuart handled it, because if he would have come out openly and discussed that this is my granddaughter, the Senate would have treated it differently, because they would have treated him differently. Because he's got such a following within the Senate, they would have voted on it because of him. Because he kept that story out of it, then they voted on the law based on the law. And I asked Dan McKay specifically, was there any push on him at all within the Senate to pass that? Was there anything at all there? He says, no, I didn't get any pressure at all. I'm like, well, I tend to believe that, because he did not make it retroactive.
I have heard
so
from
it
other
didn't
people that he
affect-
was behind the scenes, very intimidating.
And Dan McKay said no, and some said yes.
And things so maybe some people he didn't feel like he needed to, but I get from many of the lawmakers up there that there's an intimidation that comes down.
I don't know if it happened with that one, but there is on a lot of other things that he wants to get done. And Dan McKay specifically said that as well. Says if he wants it done.
Yeah, he's the president of the Senate. When he wants something done, if you go against what he says, he gets to choose committee assignments. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
I mean, it obviously was good policy because it passed the legislature. That being said, if there's bills that get passed simply because of what the Senate president believes, we need to change our culture of the legislature. Yeah. We should only be passing bills because they're actually good law, not because the president of the Senate thinks
pushing and kind of putting his finger on the scale.
Yeah, I don't think lawmakers should be in fear of losing their jobs or personal retribution for opposing what the Senate president wants.
Absolutely. Tim.
Yeah. And there's a lot going on up there outside of that thing with his granddaughter that a lot of us just don't agree with right now. And it's not necessarily that he's going woke, but he's not being as conservative as we need him to be. And there's a lot of other things kind of creeping in. They're just kind of sliding underneath the radar. It's just not happening right now.
No.
Biggest one of those is SB54.
Yeah.
By far. The most controversial thing out there right now is SB54. It got passed back in 2014. A lot of us were asleep at the wheel when the Senate got past that, because that is probably the most devastating law in this state right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Prop 4 right now is a big problem. Big problem. And it's almost as bad as SB 54. So between those two laws, the state of Utah is in a world of hurt right now. And the big issue that we're seeing right now within the public is people do not understand the caucus system. It is not being taught in our schools. Nobody in the next generation understands what that even is. And I think we need to pass legislation that says, no, we need to pass education where this is taught in schools, high school on up. This is required learning, not necessarily teaching them partisan politics, but saying this is
Utah process.
This is the Utah law. This is how the process works. This is how the caucus system works. So they have at least the minimal education of what a caucus system is and the way it works and why it works, when it happens. Because the main excuse the legislature has right now in getting rid of SB 54 is the small attendance to caucus night. Just such a dismal percentage of the population that goes to caucus night that votes for the delegates. And so they're just saying there's not a representation in the public. And so instead of solving the problem by going and educating the public, and maybe even the state funding commercials saying, this is caucus night is coming up, participate in caucus night, which the state has the funds to do because obviously they're putting funds in other places. They just sweep it under the rug because powers that be are now saying, well, because nobody knows about it, let's run a new rhetoric saying, well, you guys are not being represented. They're stealing the election from you. There's a lot of things happening without your knowledge.
Let's bypass any vetting.
Let's blame it all on the caucus system and see if we can bypass the whole thing. And then they feed the story that, well, now we got both systems. Both systems are better than one. But then the people don't understand that because of the signature system, the caucus system is kind of completely null and void now. It is a mute thing because it doesn't even matter. The convention, Republican Party, the Republican convention has no say in the elections anymore because the legislature has taken over the Republican Party. And the Republican Party needs to be its own entity by itself, on its own, without any oversight or control by the state.
Yeah.
Because it is its own entity. And right now we do not have that in the state of Utah, which is
even our delegates are falling prey because there's a lot of delegates who feel like, well, I want my caucus convention winner to be on there, so I also want him to collect signatures.
Yeah. I'm finding a lot of people will only vote for convention-only candidates as delegates.
At delegates we will, but the common public won't. And most of the representatives know that.
Yeah.
Which is why Cox mocked us in the last convention because he's like, I don't care what the caucus says. Your guys' vote means nothing to me because all I'm going to go do is go out there and start running my ads, spend $20 million on my campaign, and the public's going to vote me in anyway. So you guys can just go take a hike.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And money wins in this state. So you can have all these outside influences coming in from out of state. All this campaign funds coming in from out of state, and you can literally have our entire state elections swayed completely by outside interests.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of the caucus convention system. I think it's superior to gathering signatures in every way. When I've talked with legislators as to why they passed SB 54, it's because there was a huge movement led by former Governor Mike Leavitt and Gail Miller. Plenty of money, obviously. Right? There was a huge movement to get rid of the convention system altogether. And when they were doing polling, they were seeing the writing on the wall that they actually had with the ballot initiative. They had the support to get rid of the caucus convention system altogether. So their idea was, let's compromise to save the caucus convention system. And I do see some value in the fact that they compromised to save the system. Again, I'm a huge proponent of the caucus convention system. I think it's superior. So I'd like to see us inch our way back and strengthen the caucus convention system and eventually get back to only a caucus convention system. I don't know if the public's there yet. I think that there's still a lot of support to get rid of the caucus convention system. So
Do you think with more education that would do any good?
I think there's a lot of value in educating people that way. And when I've gathered signatures, for instance, I'm doing it to repeal Prop 4 right now. I've gathered 50 or so signatures. Some people, they actually ask questions. Oh, I wanted to learn more about this. What does that mean? There were a lot of people, though, that just signed without even learning anything, right? I was like, hey, no, wait a minute before you sign. Let me explain it to you. We can flip to the back and take a look at what's actually happening in the law. But lots of people didn't actually care about that. And I think that's what's happening with signature gathering is people don't know what's going on. They're just, oh, it'll get you on the ballot. Sure, I believe in people being able to have a choice when it comes to candidates. If we tell people that there's actually value in vetting candidates through the caucus convention system, I think it'd actually go a far way because everyday citizens don't have time. They don't want to expend the effort to vet candidates as thoroughly as they probably should. Whereas if you elect delegates to go and represent you, they actually do the homework. And then the candidates know who they need to talk to, and they sit down. They answer all of your questions. I've talked with countless delegates already, and I've spent hours talking with.
Did I sound mean?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. No, most delegates, they're passionate people. They love our country. They love our state. And what they want to do is they just want to make sure that we're electing quality candidates. That's important.
I remember when Trevor Lee knocked on my door and we sat down and talked with him. My husband was hitting me under the table because he thought I was being too mean. I'm like, I'm not. I'm just asking. This is what it is. This is what I expect.
Yeah.
But the average citizen isn't doing that.
No.
And that's what your delegates are meant to do. And don't run to be a delegate if you don't have the time to actually vet those, because their vetting processes, let me look at all the mailers I received in the mail.
Yes.
This guy looks really friendly.
Or commercials, right? Like we were talking about before. They just buy TV time, they buy Facebook ad time, and then they get their face and name out there, and then people recognize it, and they check that box on the ballot.
That is the biggest problem with SB54. It is a popularity contest and not a subject matter contest anymore.
Challenge of ideas, it's popularity, absolutely.
It's how much can I get my name out in the public, name recognition only, because when people get into the booth, it's going to be the name that pops in the head that they've seen the most on billboards, out in the freeway, on TV spots, signs in every nook and corner, on every street corner that they can possibly put the signs up, and then that's who they're going to elect.
Yeah.
As long as it's got an R behind the name, they sound okay.
They assume it's good.
They assume
right?
it's good.
There's an R by their name. So obviously
They must believe the same things I believe.
Yeah.
And that's why the caucus system has to get back into. But
yes,
we have a 3.5 million population state, and there's probably less than half of those that even know what a caucus system even is, or even participate, or even know when it is.
Yes.
And that's a massive problem, is just the education system's not out there. We're not teaching the caucus system in our schools. The rising generations have no clue about what it is. They're all excited to get out there and vote when they turn 18, but
they don't know what they're doing.
No idea.
Wouldn't it be amazing if in the schools, the kids have learned that whoever has the funniest, clever thing on the poster gives out the funnest gift or whatever.
Most candy.
Yeah, most candy wins. What if they would do a little mini caucus system in the schools and you taught the kids? You're going to have certain ones, representatives, maybe the student council, who's going to ask the questions. Why do you want to run? And they could learn the caucus system in school.
Yeah. I mean, when I've talked with teachers and people in the education arena, they're telling me that in public schools, they've got way too many requirements on them. They don't feel like they can actually teach students quality.
They're spending time teaching many other things, like
things they shouldn't be.
And so
absolutely.
I don't buy that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that there are a lot of requirements on teachers. They're having to constantly test them to see where they're at, and level-wise. When you go to a private school, when you go to charter schools even, yes, they do see the level where these children are at, but they're doing it way more often in public school. So I'm not saying I'm not in favor of educating the public. I think that's what needs to happen. I I think it needs to start in the home. We need to actually have our children
definitely,
attending
but I
these
think
places with
civics
us.
should be it
Oh,
should be
absolutely.
a requirement.
Yeah.
Civics, the Constitution, our founding fathers, why we are a republic and not a democracy.
Yes.
Should be taught in schools.
That should be.
Yeah,
I agree.
We would like it to start in the home, but even half the people my generation and my kids' generation and everybody in between myself and my kids' generation, they don't even know about the caucus system. So they're not going to teach their kids something they have no idea about.
Well, it's complicated.
And that's the problem.
You're like, oh, wait, there's 2 paths to get on the ballot. Oh, but candidates can also do both. They don't have to pick one. It's crazy. I've yet to see a candidate that just does signatures.
Everybody has opinion that just, well, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
And that's the false illusion that has gone out there with Count My Vote and everything that Gail Miller did and all this other kind of stuff. It's incredibly detrimental to what we're doing.
Well, and then they're able to push their money towards the candidates who will profit their businesses, do the agreements that they need made.
Absolutely. It's
Well,
troubling.
the biggest issue we have at getting SB54 repealed is the Senate. The House of Representatives here in the state of Utah, we have enough there to get it passed. We don't have a governor yet, but
Yeah.
if we get a new governor coming up here, then we'll veto that. Then we'll probably be okay, but we still need the Senate. So when you get in, because we're all assuming that this guy's going to win and win over Stuart Adams.
Thank you. Where do I sit on that?
Where do you sit on that? And it's going to be difficult coming in as a freshman, right?
Yes.
Because you're not going to be able to have any weight. You're not going to have any much influence, but you're still going to have to throw something around there. How do you
Well, I think the
push
average
your weight
age
with
of
that?
the Senate is what, like 60 or 70, something like that. I'd be a lot younger.
Or the young punk.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, the newbies don't ever get the influence, but you're going to have to be assertive and stand up for yourself in there a little bit.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about going about doing in that?
Well, when it comes to SB 54, I primarily would prefer to see us strengthen the caucus convention system, maybe put some more requirements on the signature gathering. Again, I prefer to have caucus convention only. So if there were a bill that somebody would run, I would support repealing SB 54.
But you think it would work better if you formed a path?
I do. I think it'd be better. If we were to repeal it outright, I think that the movement behind Count My Vote would garner enough support that they could actually threaten the caucus convention system, and I want it to survive. So my preference would be to strengthen the convention system, not get rid of it, but I would support it if it came across.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you that there's so much money on the other side that if that came to the floor, they could reverse our
It could
goal.
hurt us so much.
They could reverse our goal and completely get rid of the caucus system altogether.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very real threat.
Yeah.
So unless we all of a sudden replace 20 of our senators with brand new anti-SB54 senators, that's a real threat.
This is a game of inches. We need to just get our way or get our convention system back slowly. That's how we're going to be able to do it.
Take the base hit, not the home run.
Yeah.
We discussed that clear back when we were talking to Trevor Lee in our second podcast almost 10 months ago, that people need to start taking the base hit, not the home run, because a lot of bills get squashed because everybody's trying to take the home run and not take the base hit. Whereas the left, they really like taking base hits, and they're very, very patient. They'll take
Slowly poisoning.
slow, methodical poisoning, and that's...
And maybe I'm
It
naive,
works.
but if enough constituents were, on the phone, like while they're in the session, and then texting, emailing, calling them and saying, you're going to repeal this. I mean...
Well, I think the biggest way to do that is passing some kind of law that maybe we get you to sponsor, or we get Dan McKee to sponsor, somebody to sponsor it, that says we need to teach the caucus systems in our civics classes in school, whether it's the history class that's required to do it, the history teacher has to do it, or there's a other civics teacher. We need to start teaching that in our schools, because if it doesn't get to the next generation, it will die.
We were in grade school. I grew up in Florida. In grade school, every year you got some sort of education, not only on Florida state law, but national state law. We knew who the founding fathers were.
Yeah.
We knew stories about them. We knew how the nation was founded before we left elementary school. Forget high school. By high school, that's probably when it was phasing out.
Yeah. I think it's cultural. It's cultural where our people are not getting involved enough. So our kids are not seeing us get involved, and they're not learning about the process, the natural way, how we used to. So again, I don't know if imposing certain subject matter being taught, besides, the absolute essentials like the Constitution and federalism, separation of powers, those absolutely need to be taught.
Well, those aren't even being taught because we have a huge...
It's true. I went to law school and a lot of this stuff wasn't taught, frankly.
We have a lot of socialism problem here in
Utah
throughout the country because capitalism isn't being taught.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that we could add into a good history, a good civics class, just purposely being taken out over time because there's a lot of people within power, within the left, and these big societies that get put together like the Count My Vote and all these other super PACs have put crazy amounts of money into this, and they specifically attach our schools because they know they can win over the next generation.
Yeah.
And they're patient. They'll wait the 10 years to win over the next generation, and they'll slowly, methodically just weed it out. And when you dumb down the educational system, when you specifically dumb down U.S. history, you'll have SB54 problems, you'll have socialism problems, but the big thing is you'll have race problems because they're not taught the truth about slavery or racism or anything else like that as to how that worked. And then the United States becomes evil.
It's compounding.
Comes the problem. It wasn't, the United States was the solution to the problem. It wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
Slavery has existed from the dawn of time. And then Matt Walsh on Daily Wire just put out a big report on, he tracked how slavery started. And he says that probably about 10 to 15% of all slaves that were exported from Africa came to the United States.
More of them went to the Middle East, and
most of them went to the Middle East, and they said almost 30 to 40% of them went to Brazil and South America. And he said another 20% went to the Caribbean islands, and so which is why Caribbean islands have such a high black population. So the United States and England were the first countries to actually outlaw slavery, and nobody's teaching that. Nobody even knows that.
No.
Nobody even studies how long slavery existed. I mean, going clear back to the Roman Empire, the Romans enslaved everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody got enslaved by the Romans. And the Persians did it before them, and it's crazy. None of that's being taught. And we will completely destroy our union as we know it if we don't start teaching U.S. history correctly, which includes the whole slavery topic and how that got rid of the civil rights movement, the truth behind what Martin Luther King taught. We just had that this last week.
Yeah.
No one teaches even Martin Luther King. None of his speeches are in schools anymore.
Yeah.
When I went to school, we would learn about the I Have a Dream speech. It's not even being taught.
No,
in schools
now they
anymore.
use his face and color to promote what they want.
Yeah. None of that's being taught.
I went to my kid's school, Kaysville Elementary, last year, and they had this like timeline throughout the entire hallway. And it showed a lot of really great stuff, but it also, at the very end, it said, while changes happened, we're still fighting for equality. And so I raised that concern to the principal. I said, hey, right now.
Tell me how you're not treating the kids here equally.
Oh,
I'd love to hear
absolutely.
it.
So I said, you know what? I understand you don't necessarily need to push my ideology on these kids either. We just need to get politics out of our third grade education. We need to be teaching them the facts, teaching them exactly what happened instead of pushing this Democrat ideology.
Yeah.
He took down the timeline after he did that. But I think that's important. We need to actually get involved and learn what our children are learning so that we can protect them from that ideology.
And slavery hasn't ended. It's just developed into trafficking.
It's got a different name.
Yeah. Our children and youth are being trafficked.
Yes. Sex trafficking in particular is awful. It's not the only one. It's happening all over the world and also here in the U.S.
Well, not just sex trafficking, but labor trafficking.
Yes.
I mean, I am shocked about what's going on in Minnesota with ICE and all this. and everybody is so adamant about keeping all the illegal immigrants. And their argument is, well, who else is going to clean our homes and do the dishes at the restaurants and pick our fruit in the trees? I'm like, do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
Right? So the only reason why we have all these illegals is because we have labor that nobody else wants to do, and you need a inferior race to come in and do it for you at cheaper prices.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like Jim Crow and everything else that happened back then. So
It does. For them, it's all about identity politics. It's what color skin do you have? What religion are you? What are your pronouns? And that's just not how we need to run things at all.
So how do we get rid of the politics like that? Because, I mean, they have a specific mission. A specific mission in mind is they want to tear apart society enough to completely dismantle it, because only through dismantling society can they bring in socialism. Can they bring in a whole new type of government? I mean, that is the end goal. As much as people fight us on our comment section about that, that is the end goal. I'm going to push that till the day I die. Is they want to get rid of capitalism. They want to get rid of freedom. I mean, if they had their choice, this would be North Korea. So,
Yeah.
as a senator, how do you fight against that?
Again, it's being willing to take the inch rather than trying to hit the, or it's being willing to take the base hit rather than the home run. It's like that with pretty much every issue. Instead of having to jump from point A to point Z, we need to be willing to go letter by letter and inch our way there. That's how we got in the trouble we're in. But I also think we're missing a lot of Ronald Reagan philosophy of there's hope. Our country is still the best country in the world. And Utah is a wonderful place to live. We've got a lot of changes that need to happen too. When you look at other states that people are moving to, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, it's because they have capitalism at a higher level in some respects than Utah. We need to actually institute more and more freedom and have people recognize through higher quality of living that it's the way to go. That's the way to prosperity. It's freedom.
Well, Trump is probably the biggest biggest hero behind that, the biggest component behind that, the what he's doing with the whole America First thing. And it's boggling a lot of minds how fast he's working and splitting heads on the left of how fast he's working, because they can't stand any of it.
This second term in particular, he is just going for it.
They can't stand any of it. Right now, there's huge push with illegal immigration. It's a massive issue. The whole Somali thing in Minnesota that just came out.
Yes.
Of all the Somali immigrants that came in and just stole billions of dollars from us. And the rhetoric behind that's becoming so bad that ICE agents are having to bring out even more and more protective gear because of how bad they're getting attacked.
Yeah.
There was a social media person up there that was out there on the streets filming and just got beat. Taken down, beat, camera busted up, and couldn't even do it. Her filming got, or I think it was his filming, got destroyed, and he could only come back and talk about it because he just got...
It's gone.
He just got beat.
Yeah.
And so another podcaster went out there, and he hired his own security team. So he had like 3 security guys going out there, and he says, I do not recommend that anybody go out there that is conservative go out there without security. He says it was horrendous. It was horrendous. He says, I couldn't believe we were in the United States. I thought we were in a third world country. I thought we were in the Middle East all of a sudden. Because if I went out there with anything that showed the American flag, conservatism at all, he says, I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't even have to have a camera. If I were just walking down the street with American flag on, people would start gathering around me and looking at me.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a video the other day where a guy from India, just an Indian guy, so he's not a white dude, guy from India had this faded hoodie that had an American flag on it.
Wow.
Faded hoodie, faded. You could tell the hoodie was old.
Yeah.
Just walking down the street, and he got surrounded by these Somali immigrants, hit, beaten. They forced him to take the hoodie off. He says, take the hoodie off or we're going to beat you up. And so he took the hoodie off, and then they grabbed it from them, which is theft, and burned it right in front of them on American streets. And I watched the whole video.
Sure.
I'm like, this is obscene.
Yeah.
That this has happened in the United States.
But yet they can go into a church and meet no resistance.
Yeah, Don Lemon is a piece.
Have a report, well, loosely. So I don't get it.
Try doing that in the Middle East too. Go to Somalia and try to actually like extend our beliefs there. No, you'd get killed. You'd get killed there. I think when it comes to immigrants, I am actually in an ideal world. I would love immigrants who would come here and assimilate and actually become American instead of, Ilhan Omar, who's talking about her president in Somalia. In an ideal world, immigrants are wonderful.
My parents are immigrants, and they came to this country. They assimilated.
Yes.
And when they started out in New England and Connecticut, when we moved to Florida, I came home with some homework, 5th grade, and my mother said, "What is this?" And I said, "Well, it's Jose Marti week or month or something, and we're learning. We learned the Cuban national anthem.
Wow.
Really? And we were singing the Cuban national anthem after the
My goodness.
national, and we were doing both at the morning. My mother's like, "What?" And at first, I'm an innocent kid. I didn't know, like many of my friends are Cuban. I love the Cuban people. I loved all people.
Yeah.
We have Black History Month. So I told her, she's like, no. And I go, well, I thought, does she want the Chilean national anthem? She's like, no, the only national anthem you sing
That's wonderful. Yeah.
is from the United States. So she went to the school. She was a member of the PTA then, and I don't think the PTA was quite as woke in the 70s.
Okay.
But she wreaked havoc. But you know what? There was retaliation from that principal on me. Mr. Suarez pulled me out of class during several months later during the national anthem. There was like a kid in school who kept grabbing at my belongings, and I don't know what I was embarrassed for him to see in there, but he was going to my purse. So when I grabbed it back, I was pulled from class, and he berated me outside in the hallway and said, "You who pretends to be, whatever, so patriotic," and he goes, "and then you were disrespecting during the national anthem."
Wow.
So there was like little inklings of it back then, but
Is that why your family moved to Florida?
Chile, we're Chilean.
Oh, but you said you were up in...
We moved to Connecticut.
Okay.
But
And then you said you were raised in Florida too.
Mostly in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that one of the reasons why your family moved from Connecticut to Florida, is to escape that kind of...
No, I don't think so. I think my mother just wanted to come live with my brother. The cold winters, my parents had gotten divorced,
Yeah.
and my
Going
uncle
from-
lived in Florida, and he just said, "Come down here." He was an artist. She was an artist, and
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's with the system we've got right now, though. It's difficult to welcome immigrants of all types of socioeconomic backgrounds simply because of the welfare programs that we have. They come here, they take advantage. We're seeing that in Minnesota. They recognize that they can get lots and lots of money from these programs without any consequence, without any vetting, really. So with our current welfare programs, I don't think it's possible to welcome nor should we welcome every immigrant out there. It needs to be merit-based. It needs to be, can they participate in society,
if we
provide...
were not welcoming all the illegal aliens, we would be able to handle all the legal immigrants that chose to come here.
Yeah, the
And
law-abiding ones.
They're the ones that are getting the shaft
Yes.
because they're going through the process. And I have people that I know that they say, "Allison, it's gotten stifled because all the attention's going there." They're getting worried that they're going to have to leave because their visas are worried. And these are people who are working, paying taxes, going through the process legally. Yeah. They are vetted. Their information's out there. We have everything we need to know about them. They are not criminals from other countries.
It's amazing as well how much the Democrat Party has changed on this, because Bill Clinton, as early as Bill Clinton, or as recent as Bill Clinton, has had the Republican mindset of, if you're going to come here, you need to assimilate and not rely on our programs. You need to wait
There
your
was
turn.
no
Wait in
problem
line.
with all his deportations of illegal aliens. There's no,
Or the deporter-in-chief,
or
right?
Obama's,
Yeah.
or Bush's. Only Trump's, because they don't know it existed before.
Yeah.
These people who clamor and are so loud on the internet have never been involved in the American process prior to seeing it on television and wanting to jump on and stand for something.
Yeah. So in our current climate, I think we need to be a lot more selective as to which immigrants come into our country. Particularly, that we need to make sure that they're going to actually
Contribute to society.
contribute to society, respect our Constitution, instead of wanting to make our country like their home country. That's what we're missing with these immigrants.
Oh, again, go back to education. When you legally immigrate, and my wife just became a U.S. citizen a couple months ago. We did a whole podcast on her
Wow, really?
swearing in, the whole process, and her studying
That
the
girl
test
probably knows the Constitution better
than all of us. So
Yeah. Yeah.
being as political as I am, I helped her learn a lot of the Constitution, all that kind of stuff. But we did actually it's kind of 3 shows on that. One on immigration between her and one of her friends that legally immigrated, and we went to the whole process of how they did it, and then we actually filmed the swearing in process, and we posted that up there. So the whole thing's up on our page if you guys want to go and look at that. So we understand the legal process, and the thing behind the legal process is they learn to value what we have here in the United States. They understand why we fought in Afghanistan, Iraq, the freedom we were trying to push there. They understand World War II. They understand in the Vietnam and Korean Wars. They have to study all that. They understand the Constitution.
They have to know it before becoming a citizen, but yet we're not educating our own
That's the
or
problem.
citizens.
Yes, in law school, I was having a debate with one of my classmates in, I think it was contract law. No, it was constitutional law, excuse me. And I brought up the Korean War. I said, you're such a huge supporter of socialism. Like, what are your thoughts on Korea? Because it's a real world example as to what happens when you've got socialism versus capitalism. And she said, what do you mean, Korea? Korea, like we went to war there and it's split now. She goes, what? This is a girl who went to law school. She's not uneducated, people. It's a horrible problem. We're not actually teaching our children about our history.
I think we should have to know everything that we expect those coming into our country to know.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, the legal immigrants, again, are learning all that. Our own populace doesn't know that. And the illegal immigrants definitely don't know that. And so they have that problem where all they've known is what they've learned in their own countries. Whatever schooling, as little as it is, that they've learned, and it's
Or the biased propaganda that their countries.
or the news media that's really biased what they're learning. And so when they get here and they're asked, well, what kind of government do you want? They're like, well, this is what I learned. I mean, I guess that works. Let's just do that again.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that that's part of their crowd. And so when you have immigrants coming in the millions, you can't assimilate that many people that fast. It's just not possible. And you can completely destroy your entire culture. Completely destroy it. And then, as much as people claim that it isn't happening, like you were just saying, they're all getting on our food stamps and our entitlement programs, and they're all voting. And people are like, oh, they can't vote. They can't get on Medicare. Well, they're all doing it. There's a report that just came out in California where they had somewhere around 450,000 people that were called up for jury duty that couldn't participate in jury duty because they were not citizens.
Wow.
And where do you get jury duty contestants? From the voter rolls, directly from registered voters. So they're not voting
Good
now.
point.
Not voting? That was just the people who are called up for jury duty, let alone everybody else out there. So one of the principal things that the Biden administration did is they gave out Social Security numbers within 2 weeks of any illegal immigrant arriving in the United States. And they did that on purpose because they knew with a Social Security number, they can go get a driver's license. And with the driver's license, you can go register to vote. They knew the process. They said, no, we're not registering anybody to vote. We're just handing out Social Security numbers.
They get here and they've got help every step of the way to get themselves all the programs. Get
Well,
themselves
they're
IDs.
importing their voter population. That's how they're winning.
Yes. Yes. Very concerning. I fully support the Trump administration's ICE efforts. They come to Utah. We need to make sure that we actually have people here who actually respect the
Do you
Constitution.
know
Get the
what
people here
our
out of here that are-
laws are here about Social Security numbers? Well, we can't affect that because that's a federal thing, but our laws here about getting driver's licenses.
No, not intimately.
No, I don't know those either. We'll probably have to find out what the illegals are getting driver's licenses here in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
Because even here in Utah, I know that all you have to have is a driver's license and an address.
We need to make sure that they're citizens.
As a child, I grew up shooting BB guns. I was probably shooting my sister's dolls more often than anything else, but there was nothing like growing up and learning how to shoot accurately and learning how to take care of a firearm. There is no better way of doing that as a parent than being able to teach your children good firearm safety by using a BB gun or a pellet gun. Not only that, but it provides a lot of enduring fun for yourself as an adult and something you can do father and son or father and daughter. There are great equipment out there, and we want to introduce you to Crossman. Crossman's been around for a long time. I've always had a Crossman growing up. Crossmans provide excellent accuracy and a lot of power for a BB gun. There's a lot of different styles to choose from different types of air rifles and pistols, even to fully automatic BB guns and other types of air guns. You need to go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen to be able to go to Crossman and make those BB gun purchases, those air rifle purchases. Again, it's going to supply you hours of fun and enjoyment with you and your kids, as well as you as an adult. And BBs are a lot less expensive than actual ammunition. So go to Crossman by using the link in our description or the QR code that's popping up on the screen and enjoy the accuracy, the quality of construction, and the hours of family fun that you will have with these air rifles and BB guns. Again, the link in the description, the QR code that's popping up on your screen, and then support our channel. Thank you.
Yes.
But the problem is when you register to vote, there's a box. Are you a citizen or not? And that's the only vetting that 90% of all states are doing is asking the person, are you a citizen?
Yeah.
And you assume that by checking the box, they're going to go check it out.
They're committing a felony if they check that box and they're not a U.S. citizen.
Well,
Okay,
where's the
let's deport
enforcement? Where's the enforcement? Yeah.
Okay. You have who's asking? Who's proving that? What do they care?
Yeah.
They don't care.
How do we deal with the illegal immigration process here in Utah when you have people who expect the prominent church to legislate that from church where their purpose is to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to people. So of course they're going to welcome. There's an immigrant there, we welcome them to teach them about Jesus Christ. It's not the church who needs to run the state's politics, and it just kind of gets blurred, and they blame, well, the church is welcoming them, and they're not helping us get illegal aliens out. But I'm like, is that the duty of a church?
Yes. I mean, everything that I've seen when I started my mission, the church was very strict about all the missionaries following immigration laws. And I think the church actually thinks the same thing when it comes to U.S. immigration laws. Mm-hmm. They expect people who come into the country to obey the law when they come in. While they're here, they also think that they're human beings. They deserve to be treated with dignity, which is absolutely right. But I think the political climate is such that because the church wants to, propagate the message, they're not going to push back against political ideologies unless it hits some of their...
Are they getting on the church welfare programs?
Yeah, many of them are, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be a member of the church or a citizen, I don't think, to participate in the welfare programs. But I think it's much better to participate in a private organization's welfare programs than it would be to rely on the state's programs.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that. Yeah, if the church wants to help the illegal immigrants out and make sure they got food,
All the churches.
to you.
Churches.
Yes.
Yeah, but it
Plenty of
shouldn't
them.
be
Not the taxpayer.
Yes.
Not the taxpayer.
Yes.
not the taxpayers. That's the point. Taxpayers are not paying for this,
Yep.
particularly when...
Well, they are right now, right?
They are right now. So especially when you have sanctuary states and sanctuary cities purposely saying, come to our states and we'll give you all this help,
Yeah.
incentivizing them to come to those cities. And why do they want them in those cities? Because they know it's going to beef up their voter blocks.
Yeah.
Whether it's just the population itself, because they can count illegals as part of the population, win those House seats,
Right.
or they all got Social Security numbers, driver's license, and we're going to figure out how to get these guys voting anyway. which is what's happening in New York. That's why Mamdani came in, and why so much is happening in Minnesota. They just came out with a report I just saw the other day that they took out Muslim population outside of New York and just took out that population, that voter block. The New Yorkers overwhelmingly voted against Mamdani.
Wow, really?
Overwhelmingly. They said it was like an 80-20 split.
Yeah.
But because there's 4 million, literally 4 million Muslims and a lot of the Somali populations in New York, that's what pushed Mamdani into office.
Wow. Shocking,
So
but I
even
guess I'm not
the
surprised at the same time.
leftists, they were voting for Cuomo and the others, but even the leftists themselves got outvoted by further leftists,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is crazy.
But it's the beginning of that system that we had a Colombian man on recently who had gone to Venezuela because he's like, well, it sounded good. I figured this is a great president. You go move to Venezuela, they give you a house.
Free stuff.
Free stuff. They give you food, you get jobs. And then he finds out it's all, over the years, it's all tied to strings. The second you do what they don't want you to do, that house is pulled out from under you.
You're hooked.
And yeah, sounds really good. And that's the same with these. They're just being used.
Well, one of these things that we have on as a news article we want to pull up is people with ICE particularly are saying, well, you're getting rid of all these hardworking Americans. What are we supposed to do? And I want to pull up an article that KSL TV did that talks specifically about immigrants' taxes. And they specifically talk to farmers. And he says, I'm just a farmer and I need to have 50 to 60 seasonal workers to come in from Mexico to literally do what we were just talking about. They were picking peaches, apples, cherries. They're out in the fields picking all this stuff. But the one thing I want to point out is Curtis Rowley relies on the federal H-2A guest worker program. Guess what that makes those pickers? Legal. Legal, because they went through a process to get.
Is it like a temporary visa?
It's a temporary visa. So I know a couple ranchers, and I worked on a ranch for quite a while out in the West Desert, and he brought in temporary people all the time as well. But he as a rancher had to go through the process, and these farms have to go through the process to solicit those workers, and so they have to sponsor them. They're promising that they're not going to be a burden on the country, burden on the state. They have to support them, make sure they got housing. So the businesses that bring in those H-2A guest workers, they're the ones going out and soliciting the workers, and the workers can apply for it in their own states, but they have to literally apply for it and financially support all those guest workers. But then those workers also have to submit and go get interviews at the consulate and all this before they can come up. So there is a vetting process. There's a vetting process, and they have to get a visa stamp and their passport. So what does that make them? Legal. So we have no problems against that. Yeah, use the H-2A visa program. Be a guest worker. Come here and work. Then go back to your own country.
On time, right? Don't overstay.
Don't overstay. That's a legal process that we're all for. That is not associated with all these people coming across the border that are...
But then you have the president of Mexico telling your people and planning them like, we're going to take back America, chanting like, she's written like an anthem, a song that they have to sing as part of the anthem. And they teach it to them about, that's our land. It was stolen from us. Mexico is we're more American than the United States citizens, and implanting. And there are people of her parliament who live full time in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
It's just scary.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So you're like, we're looking at Somalis. We're looking at, I'm like, you got to look everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. I think her presidency is really just like a retaliation for Trump being elected. It's quite the situation, but we've got so much power, and Trump's a deal maker. He's not afraid to not care what.
Thank heavens the end of the story goes that we win, but
yeah,
like, what are we going to go through on the way there?
That's true.
Good side behind Cox is that he actually supports the whole Trump immigration policy. So and that's the one thing coming down that's good from the state side, and we need to continue that support. I know that what's happening on Minnesota is not going to stay in Minnesota.
No.
Now, when we've had our own riots going down State Street in Salt Lake,
Yeah.
and a lot of those were bussed in. I mean, we went down there and we started asking questions. And on one of the very, very first ones, I started asking questions. It was when the Proud Boys were there, and my brother was what got called, and he wasn't a member of the Proud Boys, but he went with the Proud Boys and did a few things with them. And we were actually down there in the streets, and rocks and frozen water bottles started getting thrown at the cops. And so the Proud Boys, and I was a part of it, and my brother was there. We were standing in between the cops and the rioters, pushing them back, because the cops could be seen as pushing back. But we were gracefully standing in line and walking towards them, putting distance between them and the rioters. But then as it started fizzling out, I started asking questions. I think I asked 2 people, hey, where are you from? And one of them was from
state.
Florida, and the other one was from Oregon.
Yeah.
I'm like, so how did you get here? Oh, we just drove in.
Paid.
So yeah, we get a lot of these paid protesters coming in. So a lot of it's not organic protesting, and there's a lot of outside money coming in. How do you think the Utah State Legislature can help someone? Because I don't know if there's any way we can.
But a lot of that outside money is supporting candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm not going to
It's the SB54 thing
I would
again.
like to
Yeah.
see where Stuart Adams' money comes from in this campaign,
Yeah.
because it's going to be hard to beat the kind of money he comes up with.
Oh yeah, no, he's already got plenty of money, and it's coming in constantly. When it comes to fighting off,
We have freedom of speech laws.
yes, yes,
So, but there's
it's got to be fighting speech, right? That the left is really good at getting out there and protesting. I don't see much of that on the right.
Because we have to go to work.
That's true, yeah. Nobody's got time
I
for that.
haven't even been able to sign Prop 4 because except for that one Friday night, but I had a birthday party for a family member.
Yeah.
But like they have all these gatherings up at the Capitol, and I'm always invited.
Yeah.
And I'm at work.
Yeah, or it doesn't draw as much attention as the left's side,
That's
right?
true.
Because
That's
the media
true.
is obviously biased.
KSL Trib's not going to cover that for sure.
No, I mean, I remember when I was in law school, my wife and I, we went and attended the Fight for Life over abortion in D.C. It's amazing. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I think we need more of that, more speech, not less. So when it comes to fighting the paid protesters, I think it's just more speech that would combat that. When it comes to the legislature and fighting off the immigration of other states, because what's happening is that those states are being subsidized by the federal government. We need to pressure our current federal delegation to not allow that to happen, and they're doing a good job of that, fighting the good fight for the most part. But that's
well,
where it
part of
stems
that is restricting Medicaid,
from. Yes.
because that, even though those federal dollars, the state runs it.
Yeah.
And that's something you guys can control, is to put more restrictions on Medicaid, not less restrictions on it. And that would weed out a lot of that. The less we can incentivize illegal immigrants from coming to our state, the more that they'll just stay in California, Minnesota, these other states. And they can influence their elections and not ours. So what do you think can be done about restricting any type of state support of illegal immigration?
Well, I see what happens. The federal government, what they do is, because they can't come in here and enforce these laws that the Constitution doesn't explicitly state they have the power over. So what they do is they tax all of our people, and then they really blackmail the state by saying, you can't get these dollars that we taxed your people for unless you pass the kind of laws that we want you to. So we really need to push back on these laws that they're requiring us to pass. And it might hurt us a little bit
Well, we have the
financially.
ability to do that now.
Yes.
Because we've had several Congress people in here, senators in here, that are saying, look, the Trump administration is working hand in toe with us on anything we want to get done in that mindset.
Yes. Well, and we've got the Supreme Court right now in our favor.
And the Supreme Court, we just need to have legislatures that work quicker so we can get all this done while Trump is in office. And I just don't see, I see a lot of our state legislatures doing well, but I see a lot that they could do a little bit faster while Trump is in office, because he's not going to always be in office.
It's not going to last forever. Yeah. I mean, even right now, we've got a great attorney general, in my opinion, Derek Brown. I think he's spectacular. I think we need to work closely with him determine the areas that we can actually push back the federal government and claw back our powers. And the way to do it is through the courts. With the way we've got this set up for judicial review, without the courts okay, at the end of the day, nothing that we do is going to stand the test of time. We need to make sure that we're getting our issues all the way up to the Supreme Court if necessary.
And we need to clean up our judges here.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is shameful
Absolutely.
that we have to go through the courts to approve legislation.
It is.
Because the legislation doesn't belong in the court system. That's why we have legislators.
Yeah.
The courts are just supposed to define whether it's constitutional or non-constitutional. You can't legislate from the bench. But yet we got people like the whole Prop 4, the abortion law that got nixed because of the court system. And they want to come and decide our maps and come in and decide what our state is doing from the court side and say, it doesn't matter how many legislators you have, how many people voted for those legislators. If they don't create laws correctly, we're just going to do it here in the court system.
No, absolutely. And that was one of the main issues as to why I was looking to run for the Senate, is because I actually listened to the confirmation hearings for Judge Gibson for our current Supreme Court. And there weren't very many legal questions, legal vetting of these judges, which was absolutely shocking. Most of the confirmation hearing is, tell us about your resume, tell us about the people you brought with you to this meeting, introduce everybody. And
Oh, how sweet.
yeah, no, it's
This is my Uncle Charlie.
It can be, yeah. No, really though, that's exactly how it was.
Wow.
And now it's better because we're seeing it's not where it should be, but we're seeing that they're actually pressing these legal questions of these judges because of the issues we've had with redistricting, which I'm glad to see. But we need more of that. And we need to hold our current senators accountable because of the mess that we're in. They got us in it. First, it stems from the governor, right? He selects these judges and then he appoints them and the Senate has to confirm them. So it starts with the governor. We need to elect awesome governors that vet these judges before they're even appointed.
We just opened up the legislature by bringing the judges up and praising them and thanking them and having them say, we understand you don't agree with everything that we do, but like the personal attacks, those need to stop, and you need to just, understand the judicial system.
Yeah. My philosophy is close, when it comes to the judiciary, my philosophy is closely aligned with Thomas Jefferson's. He even said that it's not only the judicial branch's job to determine if something is constitutional or unconstitutional. That's not how the Constitution was laid out. It's within each branch's sphere to determine what is constitutional and what's unconstitutional. We've just allowed the judicial branch ever since Marbury versus Madison to just dominate in all constitutional questions. In my opinion, the legislature should say, you know what, judicial branch, pound sand. You don't get to determine what the Constitution says when it comes to redistricting. It is clearly our job. You don't get to take that away from us because Prop 4, which is a statute, lesser law, says so. That's just not how it works. We need to actually uphold and protect the Constitution. The legislature needs to do a good job of being strict with the judicial branch.
And they're not doing that right now. I mean, one of the big problems right now is it's against the law to have any type of partisan questions when confirming a judge.
Yes.
And that's got to be one of the first laws that goes away along with SB54 because they can't.
That really limits the amount of questions you can ask. That's why we're asking about Uncle Charlie.
Yeah.
We can't vet judges because of that place. I know, who was it we were talking about to say they're trying to roll some of that back. Again, they weren't trying to go for the home run.
Stephanie? They told us about law maybe that
Baldry,
they
actually. It was Baldry.
Was it Baldry?
Because she was in the Senate.
So that we would have a more of a rubrics, a grading system on the judges, so that we, just the same way you do at the legislature. You've got Americans for Prosperity, Libertas. They'll all give you a grading system at the end, so you can go look at your bills.
An easy map.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need to have that on the judges.
Well, they
They
have
would argue that they've already got that, but
they're trying to put that so when we vote to confirm judges, that's a populace. I'm talking about when the senators are confirming the judge for the first time, that we need to roll back some of those laws to make it a little bit more easier for senators to ask more questions.
Information. Oh, I absolutely agree.
Because it makes those confirmation hearings very, very docile when you can't ask what a lot of people consider partisan questions.
I agree.
What's your stance on abortion?
What's your
unless
stance
they're
on
willing to
killing
answer those kind of
babies that are
questions.
in the womb?
Yeah.
And right now they're not it's against the law to ask those questions.
Unless we're able to ask those kind of questions, I think we should not confirm judges unless they let us know their political ideology and their constitutional ideology.
Yeah, because
That's
you
my
get
stance.
Because then they're not representing
The people.
these people.
Yes. I also think, I mean, right now there's the consideration of adding more justices to the court. I listened to Chief Justice Durant's opinion on that. He said we need more funding, and don't take away from that funding by adding 2 more judges. If you're going to add 2 more Supreme Court judges, we need to.
I heard it was 5.
So right now there's 5. I think they're looking to add 2 more. And in my opinion, I think we need to
sack the court.
that's one way to go about it for sure. And I'd be supportive in exploring those avenues. Other ways that we can do it is, I'm thinking these judges should have to seek reappointment and reconfirmation, because everyday citizens, they get the retention vote on the ballot and they don't know what's going on with these
That's
judges.
where I want
Should I vote to retain? And they would say that they're already providing that kind of information. It's hard to find, but they'd say that they're already providing it. But
Yeah, Carrie,
again,
have
it's
been
the whole
told that.
signature.
Carrie Ann is putting forth something now to put that system on the ballot.
Yeah, I remember her talking about that.
Put that on it, but it hasn't been passed yet.
Because I get the phone calls
Yeah.
from my neighborhood. They're like, what do you think about these judges? And it's like,
Me
it
too.
falls on me.
Yeah. Well, I honestly think there would be some value in them having to seek like reappointment and reconfirmation by the governor and the Senate. Sure, that would add quite a bit of work, but that would mean that the people who are elected to represent us to vet these judges would be able to re-vet them after they see some of these judges' rulings.
That's a great idea. See if we can get that one passed.
And if they're good, yeah, we'll see. But if they have to be vetted again, these senators would actually be able to see and tell if these judges are quality or not.
Maybe do a law that revets them every 4 years or something like that.
Yeah. In the meantime, I think we need to actually campaign these retention votes to be no, in particular for some of these judges. Now, there's been talk about impeaching some of these judges, like Judge Gibson. I don't think that's the correct avenue to take.
No?
Not with this situation. There is a time and place for impeachment, absolutely. But I think the appropriate avenue for this would be retention vote. We need to actually get out there and campaign to have her not be retained. We need to change the system.
I'm in.
Yeah. There needs to be money behind it. So as long as we can get the word out to people, I'm all for it. I'd back it.
Well, another issue we have here in Utah is a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. 'Cause
Yes.
the left really knows that you're not going to get anywhere in the state if you have an L behind your name. So there's a lot of big lefties that say what they need to say during the campaign, get that R behind their name, and then they go completely left once they're in office.
Or even some of these judges, they're a little bit more tame when they're in the district court, so that they can work their way up the court system and become a higher judge.
And they'll say the right things when they're confirming,
Yeah.
and then they just go about doing it, what they want to do. And that whole wolf in sheep's clothing is more prevalent when you get down to city councils and local school districts and all these lower voter blocks. It's not so prevalent when you get to state legislature or state senate or anything like that, because it's
A larger audience.
larger audience, a little more easy.
More people
You
to-
can't
confuse
conceal
more
it.
people.
You can't conceal it as much.
Yes.
But
That's the value in the caucus convention
I
system.
was just going to say that. So when I'm a state delegate and a county delegate in Davis County.
Me too.
And when I was helping Croft get into office, I was calling a lot of the other delegates
Yeah.
and specifically asking them certain questions, particularly about the pornographic books in the children's section of our public libraries, as well as getting allowed into our school districts.
Yeah.
And I was there's one person running against Croft that was highly pro allowing these books in there. And she had an R behind her name, and you could tell anytime you talked to her, she was not conservative at all, not in the least degree. She was way left and just registered as a Republican. So, I mean, you could tell in just 2 seconds during the caucus system process. I'm like, no, this person should not have an R behind her name. But the surprising thing is I was talking to a lot of delegates, and the delegates themselves were saying, we should have that in there. Why wouldn't you expose your children to that? They're going to be exposed to it at some time. They need to be exposed to that at those ages. Coming from delegates, I'm like, Yeah, we have a lot of people here in the state, they're voting for delegates just to get out of the meeting.
You need them exposed to it so they're prepared for when they're exposed for it with it later. I don't.
No.
What?
So there's actual delegates that are pushing to get leftists in there, which is just the populace not voting the right delegates in either. And
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
You go to caucus and it's let's get through this as quickly as possible.
In our precinct meetings, we had recently. We've got an opponent of a Trevor Lee's that she's tried to run against him a couple times.
Yeah.
But definitely very moderate to liberal. I don't know why she has an R behind her name. And she brought in people. The lady who'd moved in from California, and I had received some prior information that you're going to have somebody in your precinct who's come in from California who's going to try to run as precinct chair.
It's the whole John Huntsman Jr. and the Jim DeBacchus. I don't know if you remember that when he's running for governor. It's let's change parties because the Republican
Right.
Party is the only party that has power in the state of Utah.
So, but even at these lower levels, they infiltrate.
That's how we got John
Yes.
Curtis
Get, yep.
Yeah.
as a Republican U.S. Senator for the state of Utah when he was
A full-on Democrat.
Full-on
He's still
Democrat.
climate
Still
activist.
is.
Yeah.
Still is.
full-on Democrat.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy how this system works.
It really is.
Going back to immigration, so in the state right now, according to, this is AFPI, according to a study by the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, illegal aliens and their children cost Utah $931 million in 2023, and it's only gone up in 2024 and 2025, which each illegal alien costing the state around $5,000. Another study by FAIR concludes that Utah is supporting illegal aliens by allocating $654 million for education, $179 million for health care, and other general services, and $99 million for police and corrections. Utah had 917 known human trafficking victims between 2019 and 2023. In 2022, Utah had 13.5 opiate-related deaths per 100,000 people. So you multiply that by 3.5 million people, and that's a lot of people.
Did it have the traffic? Because I've heard the traffic incidents are really high from illegals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, driver's
I didn't
license.
see it in that article, but
Utah had an illegal alien population of 110,000, which is low compared to most states. According to Rice University, Mexico saw nearly 60 billion enter its country via remittance in 2022, which just means illegals are working here and just sending the money back to Mexico, which is a lot of money leaving this country, which is also hurting the economy. So as much as they would love to come up here and work and send money back to their home countries, that money leaving our country is not helping the country. It's hurting the country.
And are legal immigrants getting these same benefits?
They're not getting it because trust me how hard it was for my wife to become a legal citizen. It was tough.
quite the process.
Quite the process.
So
Even
how
just
is
getting
that
here.
fair?
And she didn't get any of food stamps or nothing was offered to her. The second she submitted for legal paperwork,
She had friends that were illegals who offered her some of their benefits.
Really?
yeah, she'd get that a lot and get a lot of friends that had
Yeah,
food stamps.
sometimes they're like, "We got
Illegals with
300
food stamps. So people can't tell me it's not happening because we're committed enough to that, committed to know better,
Yeah.
where they would literally come up to her and say, hey, I got this food stamp card. It's got $1,500 on it. I only use like $400 of it a month.
Yeah.
You want to buy some of it off of me, and they'll literally go buy your groceries for you at 50 cents on the dollar as long as you give them cash. And
Yeah.
so you can go buy $200 worth of groceries for $100. And who doesn't want to do that, right? As long as you just give them a $100 bill. And that's how they just cashed out their food stamps and just went did other stuff with it. So even the food stamp program was way, way overpaying the illegal immigrant population. There's food stamp programs going up in Minnesota and New York where their illegals are getting $3,500 a month in food stamps. Who buys that much food?
And they don't look obese to me, so I don't know where all that money is going.
$3,500 in food stamps, unless you're eating out at fine dining restaurants every single day and you're allowed to use your food stamp card at the restaurant, which should be allowed.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're spending that kind of money.
I saw an interview where they went into, it was supposed to be a grocery store, a Somali grocery store in Minnesota, but it's kind of everything. There's clothing, this and that there, but he was asking him what he does, and he goes, "You sell all this stuff?" And he goes, "Some of it, most of it's in exchange." So they go in there and they're exchanging their benefits for things that they prefer or need in there, and it's all on film. And I think it might even be, what's the cute kid who's been going around exposing
Nick Shirley.
It maybe it wasn't him, but
Well, there's
somebody
one
like
guy-
it was a young guy asking.
There's a restaurant up there that the restaurant owner just got arrested because he was actually buying food stamp cards for 50 cents on a dollar from as many people as he could, and then he was supplying all the food in his restaurant with food stamp cards.
There's a lot more fraud going on than people realize.
He got arrested.
We need light on the situation.
Well, you're going to see a lot of these numbers as you get into the Senate. I mean, if we're really spending $654 million on education for illegals, and my wife is a school teacher, and she sees a lot of it because a lot of students are coming in that don't speak English and struggle. And she's had a few students that not only don't speak English but have severe problems, society problems where they are hitting and punching and behavior problems. She got punched and ended up going.
Your wife did.
Got punched by a kindergarten kid, 5 years old, because she teaches kindergarten. Ended up going to an instant care to get it documented. And she's got a bruise.
As a child, I grew up shooting BB guns. I was probably shooting my sister's dolls more often than anything else, but there was nothing like growing up and learning how to shoot accurately and learning how to take care of a firearm. There is no better way of doing that as a parent than being able to teach your children good firearm safety by using a BB gun or a pellet gun. Not only that, but it provides a lot of enduring fun for yourself as an adult and something you can do father and son or father and daughter. There are great equipment out there, and we want to introduce you to Crossman. Crossman's been around for a long time. I've always had a Crossman growing up. Crossmans provide excellent accuracy and a lot of power for a BB gun. There's a lot of different styles to choose from different types of air rifles and pistols, even to fully automatic BB guns and other types of air guns. You need to go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen to be able to go to Crossman and make those BB gun purchases, those air rifle purchases. Again, it's going to supply you hours of fun and enjoyment with you and your kids as well as you as an adult. And BBs are a lot less expensive than actual ammunition. So go to Crossman by using the link in our description or the QR code that's popping up on the screen and enjoy the accuracy, the quality of construction, and the hours of family fun that you will have with these air rifles and BB guns. Again, the link in the description, the QR code that's popping up on your screen, and then support our channel. Thank you.
$179 million to healthcare. A lot of that's just emergency room stuff.
Yeah.
That is a lot of taxpayer dollars that are going to this. I mean, how do you inch that back? How do you get some base hits on how much money is going towards this?
Well, I mean, it first starts with supporting the federal government and their ICE efforts. We need to get these people out of our state. If they're not here, they're not going to be draining our resources. At the same time as well, we could also be pulling back some of our welfare spending. If we've got less people and less of the welfare spending, we're going to have less and less people trying to come here to take advantage of the situation.
That's the biggest thing is we got to get rid of the incentive.
Yes.
Get rid of the incentive. And so if we can pull back some of those laws, then those immigrants will naturally just leave.
Yeah, not come in the first place.
Or leave or not come in the first place. If they can't get the support here, they'll go to California, they'll go to Minnesota, and they can worry about it. But
the problem is even then we're still subsidizing through the federal government.
Yeah, believe
those
the
other
state of
states.
Utah is
Agreed.
supporting it.
Agreed. I agree.
So when you get in, you're going to have to fight for that. I don't know if you know what laws are in place right now, if you've done any research on any of those laws to see where we could inch some of that back.
No, I need to do more.
One of the biggest points they make here, I want to point this up, is international wire transfer fees will financially target illegal aliens and fund law enforcement. So Trump was trying to put this law out there himself, was where it was, I don't know if he was going to tax it or what he was doing, or is he going to just make it so they couldn't?
When they try to transfer the money out of
the
country, we take a sliver of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if either tax it or fee it or penalize it somehow, that also de-incentivizes a lot of illegal immigration because they can't send all that money back out of state. So that's a very, very easy, non-violent, non-arresting way of fighting illegal immigration.
Having them pay for the issues themselves.
Yeah, just de-incentivize them. Again, it's about the incentive. I mean, Trump with Greenland right now is just increasing the incentives, paying the Greenlanders $100,000, and so he's not penalizing. He's not going to use military force. He's de-incentivizing them by increasing the tariffs. You're going to get 10%, 25% tariffs if you don't give me Greenland. But if you do, I'm going to give you all this money. So he's using the incentive process instead of military. We need to kind of take from that and say, okay, instead of just having ICE out there arresting everybody, what can we do to de-incentivize them from being here in the first place? And that is getting control of Medicaid for the first place.
Yeah.
Controlling our food stamps. And that is particularly controlling the employees, because that's where it's happening. Because I know what's happening inside those offices, because I have people there. I mean, we have a lot of connections in the Latin community. And so when these illegals go into the county healthcare offices and all those and meet with the social workers who are approving the food stamps, approving the Medicaid, there is a lot of leftist woke employees working for the county health departments.
Yeah.
That know they're illegal, and they just sign everything and just allow or approve everything. And that is where we're getting a lot of this. So there's got to be things put in place to filter the employees, get rid of some of those employees, or put penalties in place for employees that are obviously doing that. And then most importantly, you got to find a way of having some kind of a check and balance system. So where if one employee approves something, 2 or 3 other employees got to look at it.
Yeah.
A second or third time. That makes sense.
Because if you don't...
If you're disobeying the law, there are consequences.
How are you going to catch employees that get those jobs on purpose
Yeah.
to push an ideology? It's just like happening in our schools. There's teachers that get jobs on purpose. There's administrators in our districts getting jobs on purpose to push specific ideology.
Yeah.
And it's happening in our healthcare department.
Well, I've actually, since I've been contacting so many voters and delegates, I've heard a lot of push to have Utah get a sort of office like Doge, which would actually push people to, or push these employees to actually have to report what they're doing, and it be audited, right? Have those filters.
I nominate the data Republican. She should be over Doge.
Sure, she'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all for having more efficiency in our government and making sure that we're actually checking these approvals more than what they are.
Well, let's move on, because we can delve on this thing forever and a day.
Yeah.
One of the other big issues here in Utah is our education system. And it's not necessarily not being educated, which is a big problem about civics, just normal civics and law and all that kind of stuff. But it's allowing too much outside influence into our schools where our students are really suffering. And people want to put more technology into our schools and not less technology, because that's the way of the world, right? We're going towards AI. We're going towards a more computer-based system. So our kids need to have a lot of exposure to technology to even survive in the future. But there's also a massive problem where there's too much access to things that are not good out on the internet in that technology that our kids are being exposed to. We showed a video last week that Corinne Johnson from Utah Parents United showed that within 3 clicks on a school-assigned tablet, kids could get to pornography.
Wow.
And she shows it. She blurs it out, but she shows it 13 seconds, 3 clicks, boom. And she shows it school-assigned tablet with their firewall, and he says the firewalls don't work.
And I have always assumed that they have these firewalls for sure.
And just assume they're protecting our kids.
And it's not working. So there's laws that we put in place So we had a law put in place, and this was done back in 2025, making cell phones in schools illegal. So obviously they wouldn't have that influence. And this did a lot of good because it got rid of a lot of social media negative influences in schools. It got rid of a lot of distraction when kids were just not paying attention to their teachers. But I think one of the biggest effects was just participating in society, just socializing with another human being. Mm-hmm. One of the interesting comments it says in here, and I'll read it to people. It says, I found that some of the kids that usually withdraw a little bit more, they have nothing to withdraw and distract themselves with. They are more encouraged to discuss with other students or participate. And we're going to get a little bit into suicide here, but that's a big negative problem is people are just not socializing with other human beings and withdrawing into this cocoon. And kids at that age have a huge thing with just fitting in the first place. And if they withdraw, then it creates a huge depression problem. But there's also a huge social media side of this where there is a lot of bad influences coming in from anything, every direction.
Yeah.
I mean, as adults, we're all on TikTok, we're all on Instagram, but there's a lot more social media than TikTok and Instagram out there that people are getting into, in particular our youth. And there's chat rooms within gaming stores. Again, with Corinne Johnson, she went in as substitute teacher, and the entire back of the class was just
gaming in the back.
Playing video games on their school assigned tablet. And so they're getting into video games, there's chat rooms of video games. So there's a lot of negative influence even on there. And there's a lot of outside influence that can push a lot of woke ideology, a lot of LGBTQ ideology, a lot of socialism ideology. And sadly to say, there's a lot of things that can get pushed out there in the challenges out there. One of the challenges that went around was this choking challenge.
Okay, I haven't heard this. Choking
challenge, where you get choked or you're choking and see how...
You kind of hyperventilate, then they hold... And this was around when I was in junior high
pass
in Florida, and they pass out. Some kids actually are caught, they start progressing into choking themselves, like they'll hang a noose in their closet.
Wow.
Or from a bed or something, and then they're only intending to get that euphoric feeling from the choking thing, but they'll die, and then it's hard to determine whether they committed suicide or they were trying to choke.
So I want to treat this next image with a lot of care, because there was a student down in Utah County. He is in the military academy down in Utah County that committed suicide a week ago. So I want to full condolences to the parents right now that are probably watching this because they're friends with my sister. My sister promotes my show. But this young boy committed suicide a week ago. His funeral is tomorrow from the recording of this, and it'll be yesterday by the time you guys actually see this. And this young boy named Zeke is now lost because what her mother believes is the choking challenge and social media and influences at school. So just horrific situation.
Tragic.
I mean, how do you deal with that as a parent? I don't even know. I mean, I saw my sister go through it. Right now, here's an article from this University of Utah. The rising tide of Utah suicides. Utah suicide rate per 100,000 is nearly double the national rate. That's a sobering statistic. What's worse, suicide is the leading cause of death. Leading cause of death among one of Utah's youngest groups, teens aged 15 and 19. In the face of climbing Utah suicides, can we save a suffering state? And they go through a few examples of this young woman named Julia Ludlow who attempted, and another student kind of happened to walk in on it. She started bawling, was able not to. She was doing it in school. She was going to do a drug overdose in the middle of school, and another fellow student walked in.
Were they able to talk to her and ask her why?
You can look at this report. Anybody out there can look at this report, but she explains her whole story here. She kind of got way open with it and to kind of prevent it. But the big thing I want to point out is this kind of map here. So the suicide belt, and I didn't even know there was a thing called a suicide belt It refers to the collection of states in the Mountain West with elevated suicide rates. As you may move your cursor across the map, you'll see individual suicide rates. So here in Utah, we got a 22.2 people out of 100,000. And Montana is up at 20, almost 25. Wyoming's over 25. Colorado's at 22, it's 21.9. New Mexico's way up at 25.
There's Alaska too. Look how dark that is.
Yeah, Alaska is up at 24.5, so even New Mexico is bigger than that. But I mean, still 22 for every 100,000, and most of those are youth. They're faulting a lot of this in the technology in schools because there's just these. It's not just the challenges, but they're just strange influences. There's online bullying that's happening between students. There's loneliness, there's bullying that's happening online between students. It's not in your face in the hallways anymore because that's getting caught and regulated, but there's a lot of other things that are going out there. And so you got pornography happening, you got woke socialism and LGBTQ stuff and Muslim Sharia law stuff going on all over online. There's a push right now to unplug. So looking at this law, state of Utah plans to transform the trajectory of K-12 education and taking a giant step backward, according to Deseret News. They think it's a bad thing. Utah legislators will, with the endorsement of Governor Spencer Cox, announce a pair of bills on Tuesday to reverse the introduction of technology in public classrooms, countering a trend that appears to have stunted child learning. We have to be honest with ourselves. Technology exposure is not technology education, said Representative Doug Fifia from Herman.
Fia. Love him.
Fia. We've allowed engagement to become a substitution for education. So there's problems with that. And that's got to be in this session that they're going through right now. We've talked to a few people who are going to be discussing a lot about kids. There's got to be technology exposure, but I think there's got to be a lot of limiting internet to where things are more downloaded, where you have textbooks or something. Go back to textbooks, digital textbooks or something like that, because for some reason we got rid of textbooks and just whatever you can find online.
Environmentalists paper. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's got to be a lot of limiting to just internet exposure. I mean, you can have technology without having internet exposure that allows all this.
Yeah. All the stuff that I've read about this as well, it needs to be evidence-based. You start younger. You protect the younger, less developed brain. Because if they get hooked on technology earlier on, they're more likely to feel lonely and not feel belonging in society and their family if it's a lot earlier. So I think we need to be protecting our children, starting at the home, from technology and getting them addicted to it first. And then absolutely, we need to be attacking what's going on in the schools. It's essential.
What do you think you'll do to do that? I mean, getting details that your potential voters out there or listening to this, what do you think can be done to be able to limit that?
Well, I think right now, Representative Fia is doing a great job. He's got this bill. I think it's called the SAFE Act. Is that what it's called? Where we're actually limiting children's exposure earlier on in the younger grades. I think that's fantastic. It's a great idea.
What is considered the younger grades? When is it?
I think it's kindergarten to third grade. They don't have. He's pushing that they don't have any personal device use. It's you've got the computer. You're learning keyboard use, basic technology, that kind of thing. But we're not deep diving into AI. Not having a personal tablet that young. And then, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, you're introducing those, but still not. Here's a tablet. Go for it, kid.
They should limit the amount of time in each classroom time that's used too.
Yes. And I think we need to really focus on the filters that we were talking before about how the pornography issue. I think it's a lot more than that. We really need to restrict their use of those tablets.
I think they just need to take the internet off them completely. They should take any type of web browser off.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just the server will push out, this is the textbook for this.
Yeah, just leave it Wi-Fi to the server, and whatever's on the server you can have access to, and anything else you're not going to have access to.
I think that'd be, in my opinion, a great introduction, right? It's you start with
Yeah.
no,
Well, I don't think
no
any,
internet, and then later on when you get
even
in high
in
school, and you're
6th, 7th, 8th grade, and I don't think any of them should be exposed to that because it's just too many problems with that. Because they were showing, Creighton Johnson was showing last week that there's actual Google Docs that the kids were passing around because they had access to Google Docs online that has specific instructions how to bypass the firewalls.
wow.
And she said she got a copy of one of them, and the kids are
disgusting,
passing them back and forth between each other. This is what you need to do to bypass the firewalls.
Wow.
And you know, some tech hacky that was older than high school students figured it out and then gave it to high school students. This would be funny. So you know the high school students are not figuring out how to bypass firewalls. It's coming from outside influences. Here, this is how you bypass the
And
firewall.
devices should be turned in and then checked. There should be, you know,
Would they not be able to have devices at home to figure out these Google Docs and then bring them to school and get past the firewall if they're
That's why I'm saying that
no internet whatsoever?
no browsers, period. They put a system on there they can't even download a browser. Just take it off. You have Wi-Fi.
Very restrictive apps.
You can have access to the server. Textbooks are on the server. Your homework's on the server. You can download the book. You can download your homework and work videos or the teacher's assigned videos, whatever it is, whatever's on the server. Just take the internet off the thing.
Yeah. We definitely need to get back to actually educating our children instead of just entertaining them or having them be involved in busy work. I think that's really what this is coming from is a lot of what we're seeing is our educators are defaulting to technology. That a lot of them, they weren't educated this way with technology, right? So they're struggling to know how to use this themselves. And so they're defaulting to what is given to them.
yeah, I'd assume a noisy classroom of the past is a lot different when you've got your whole class sitting. It's probably nice and quiet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, I fault parents too because there's a lot of laziness coming from the parents, but I think a lot of that's going into the schools as well,
Yeah.
where teachers are finding stuff online that they can teach in class that does all the teaching for them, and they don't have to prepare much, right? It's already dead for them. It's just, we're going to do this. I found it was on the internet. It was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do any work to put it into the tablet and it's like that, and this is going to be the new assignment, right?
Yeah.
And then parents are having the same problem. It's that tablet parenting where kids starts crying or bawling and hands them a tablet. Here, just
I think more and more adults are also getting addicted to technology.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when I was in high school, it was just the teenagers that were driving in on their phones. And now you drive, you look to your left and right, there's seniors that are on their phones while they're driving. Everybody's becoming absolutely addicted. So I think it first starts with we need to self-regulate ourselves when it comes to technology, the adults, and then we can actually teach our children how to do that.
By example.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you know, a child doesn't have to be one-on-one. Why does everyone have to have I have a daughter that homeschools, and I was observing a couple of the kids, and there was a tablet, but the older son, he's 10 or 11, and he was sitting with the 5 or 6-year-old, and he goes, now what is, like, an asking her, not like going through the lesson with her. And he's like, what are you supposed to put here? What is and then she did this and looked up at him. And so they're interacting, they're working together and like you can put kids in a study group, or like we used to work together in tables at elementary school, right?
Yeah.
You sit as a table, maybe there's one table and you're discussing and using it as a tool instead of the be all.
Yeah. And doing it alone. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I've got a brother who's in a software engineering course at the U, and his professor requires them to do a weekly project where they have to work together on coding. So I think it's at every level. We just need to have more of this interaction with human beings, and then you use technology as a tool rather than a crutch.
They get dopamine hits.
Yes.
yeah. So the big problem with social media is the dopamine hit. I mean, right in my own home. So I've got a 8-year-old kid that loved YouTube, and he wasn't watching anything bad. He'd watch gaming, and then I
That's
noticed
so popular. Yeah.
And I as an 8-year-old, he was watching all these gamers playing Minecraft or something like that, and thought all that was really cool. But then I saw over time his homework levels were just going way down. I'm like, I got to get him off this dopamine fix. We made a law in the house that he can only watch cartoons. He can't watch any of these gamers. Not that they're saying anything bad or doing anything bad, but I knew the dopamine fix was hurting his learning capabilities. And once we stopped the dopamine, his grades start going back. His attention span will start going back up. There, his grades start.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was like, proof positive right there that it's legit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily, like I said, again, we wouldn't allow anything negative. I mean, he wasn't watching anything violent or anything else like that. And there's other kids out there playing stuff like that. It was all, but the chemical itself was causing the harm. And I think that's a lot where this technology is hurting our kids as well.
And then they're taking that to the schools.
And now they got a tablet with them 24/7 because they got a personal tablet assigned to them that they're using at school. They're taking it home. So it just follows them like a cell phone. And the other point that Corinne was making is the people that are giving these tablets, whether it's Microsoft or it's Apple or it's Google, giving these tablets out, are collecting all the data. And they're using it for public purposes. And so it's this massive data collection on the next generation, and they can push out.
There was also recently a story, and I don't remember what county, but the school was actually spying in on the kids with their device.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
This is in Utah.
Yeah, the news actually covered it. It was really weird. But yeah, so I saw it on the news where they had the administrators talking about, and they're going to be prosecuted. But these kids think, I thought I was given this so I could do my homework. Meanwhile, they were watching through the camera in their bedrooms, in the sanctity of their home.
Yeah, that's scary. We need to do a lot more of filtering what sort of, opt-in situations when it comes to technology. When you got the terms and conditions, you automatically have to, you're assumed that you're involved in the data collection already. I'd push more and more. You actually have to physically opt in order to have your data collected. Instead of it being opt out, you have to opt in.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Especially for children. Yes.
Anybody under 18,
Yes.
that should be just a dead no.
Yeah.
No data collection at all. I mean, what do you need?
What do you
Data on not an 18-year-old or a 4-year-old. I mean, why are you getting that in the first place unless you have more than just marketing intentions in mind? You specifically want to
control the captive audience, control their brain, so that when they get older, they become customers.
They become customers or have a certain ideology when they get out.
Oh, absolutely.
It's how you influence the next generation. That's why we have such a problem in our universities right now, where it's not just university professors are gone woke and making all our university kids bleeding heart liberals when they get out of college. They're starting that younger and younger, and it comes through this technology. It's this woke ideology is getting pushed out there because it's these big enterprises, these big companies are creating the software and the programs and the teaching programs and the lesson programs that are going on to these tablets are all coming from outside influences, and the teachers are like, yeah, that's easy enough. And they're just as lazy as the parents and like, oh, the less work I have to do, the better. And they just push out all this outside influence in. And a lot of this outside influence is coming from these blue states, these bleeding heart liberals, and that's not a place here in the conservative Utah. That's just not a place for it.
Yeah. Our parents need to take control of our children's education. I know that public education, we're actually seeing a growing number of people who are homeschooling their kids or taking their kids to private schools. And I think it's for a reason. People are actually recognizing the fact that there are issues that our children are facing in public schools that we don't agree with. And technology is definitely one of those that we need to be very, very careful and vigilant in filtering what our children are exposed to.
Well, is there anything going on in the legislature this session or anything that you're keenly interested in?
Particularly, it was the appointment and confirmation of the new Supreme Court justice. It didn't start there during the legislature. That was before the legislature. I think he's going to be fantastic. That's where I think our effort should be focused. Is the judicial branch, and so we need to vet our justices. We need to focus on getting good judges on, and we need to push back. That's the redistricting issue is huge. That's the real problems for our country and our state stem from the federal government. Now, we've got plenty of problems in the state level, absolutely. But making sure that we have control of Congress, of the Senate, is absolutely essential. And it starts with us controlling what's going on in Utah. We've lost control of that.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Prop 4 has been horrible. well, between SB54 and Prop 4, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just step by step, they're just taking conservatism out
Yes.
in any way, shape, or form they can possibly win it over. And those are two massive wins.
Yes.
Two massive wins that just can't stand. And I'm glad that both Mike Schultz and Stuart Adams are both trying to get rid of SB54. I mean, they're both pretty strong about it. That's two really, really good things that are happening right now, but I don't know how they got that passed in the first place. I mean, again, this is big publicity thing that somehow got out to the public and got painted as a good thing, just like SB54 did. And no one does their homework on it and just buys in on it, and all of a sudden they get it passed, and now it's 10 times harder to get it gone than it was to put it in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can actually get these initiatives back on the ballot, right? You can do it the manual petition signing way, which is the way the Republicans do it, because we like paper. Democrats,
Okay.
they're allowed to do it electronically. We're allowed to do it electronically too. And so Democrats are gathering it both ways. Republicans, I'm pretty sure that we've focused mainly on the manual gathering, which is why we're seeing that the repeal of Prop 4 is going slower than we expected. I mean, we're on track according to what the chair, Rob Axon, is saying. But it's still concerning because it's going slower than what we wanted to actually get it back on the ballot.
Do you have your list with you?
I think it might be in my car. I have to go check.
Okay.
Have you signed it?
No. No. The only chance I could have done was that one Friday night, and we ended up having something.
Okay.
Who's the guy that came into town, the park, I think in Kaysville?
I don't know.
And I actually had my daughter say, "Is this legit? Is this a good thing?" And I'm like, "Yes, they'll sign it."
Yeah.
But I want our viewers to know that we have invited Stuart Adams on over the past months to discuss these same issues prior to asking Braden on, and we still invite him to discuss these same issues with us.
Responded.
I didn't want anybody to think, well, why are they not having President Adams on? But he's been invited many times.
Yeah, I signed that petition. Rob Axon emailed it out, and I digitally signed it off.
Oh, you can digitally sign it.
Yeah, Rob Axon's emailed it out and giving everybody the digital signature capabilities.
Okay, then I'm wrong there. We need to do more of that. I think there are plenty of people that are willing to sign. They're waiting for the manual petitions to sign.
If you're on the Republican Party email list, you can get the e-signature.
Great.
And that's how I signed it.
Great.
If not, there's a SCC or a Davis County Central Committee meeting, I think Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll have it there.
I think it's at Viewmont High School. Anybody can come and sign the petition packets.
Okay.
All right. Anything else you want the potential voters to know and understand about you?
Really, I'm a principled candidate who's focused on following the Constitution. Right now, we've got some good leadership, but we do need change. We've seen our leaders who are more focused on their own agenda and providing for themselves than providing what the people need. So we need a change, and I'm a great alternative to the status quo.
Well, excellent. We appreciate you being on with us.
Thanks for
me.
having me.
Great session. Discussed a lot of topics. Hope the audience enjoyed it as well. Again, like, subscribe, and share. We need every person out there to help us get past our YouTube suppression problem, because it is getting worse and worse. As the more conservative and the more controversial some of the subjects are that we discuss here, we notice it every single time we put out a video. Even Corinne Johnson's video that we put out last week is just the number of impressions that she was getting is even lower than our previous weeks. So I'm like, what is going on here? But it's a real thing. People really don't think it's as bad as it is. So it takes you as the audience to share us. So please just share us as much as possible on your Facebook pages, your Instagram, your TikTok, your X, whatever it is you're doing. Share us out there. Let's get the word out. We got really good and positive messages coming at you every single week. Get up onto our channel, our YouTube channel, look at past episodes. There's a lot of subjects going clear back to March of this last year that you can get on there and find a lot of information about almost every subject that is currently on there. Look forward to upcoming episodes. We are going to be at the state capitol on the 13th and possibly the 6th of this coming month, doing interviews up there and running our podcast from the state capitol. Senator Harper as well as Senator Stevenson are going to be spending some time with us while we're up at the Capitol doing this live from the Capitol building. So look forward to those podcasts coming up. And we will see everybody on the next video.